Hello, welcome to A Time to Think, volume 07.01, update 1. This is, sort of a part of my setting the record straight section, or a collection of videos in the Time to Think series, because there are so many things that people seem to really just get things wrong. So I just want to state my opinion, or opinions on the matter, in this case on homosexuality. Touchy subject, I guess. I've said before that I think of sin, or define sin, as anything that is contra to God's plan, His rules, His design. So anything that goes against the things that God has said to do or to not do. So if He says don't do this and you do it, then I consider that sin. But I think I need to go back and give a little more thought to when does a thought, when does it become a sinful thing? Is it just in the action? You see, there's a section in the Bible, a passage in the Bible, I don't remember where it is or exactly how it's phrased, but it basically seems to say that if you've thought it in your head, but maybe it's if you've committed the sin in your heart, even if you've not physically done whatever it was, that you've still sinned. But I think it's important to distinguish between temptation, being tempted by something, and actually engaging in the behavior. You see, I'm going to have to go back and do a little more studying, because I'm not a theologian, I'm really not a pastor, as I've said. I'm just someone who has opinions, and like everybody and their brother feels the need to post their ideas and opinions on YouTube. Well, I have that right too. You can disagree with them and all that, that's fine. But pretty certain it says that Jesus was tempted in every way that we're tempted. But it also says Jesus never sinned. So just being tempted by something is not sinful behavior, right? I mean, just because you have a thought, doesn't mean you're going to act on it, doesn't mean that you've committed the sin just because you've had that thought. Boy, if it did, there's no hope. I guess at some point, if you dwell upon it, if you think it through, if it's not something you just dismiss, if something comes to mind and you're like, no, and you dismiss it. If you dwell on it, if you think it through to, wow, she's so pretty, I just, I want to touch her here and there and kiss her there and this and that and the other thing and, all that stuff. And maybe at that point you have committed the sin in your heart. But if you act on it, then you've committed another. So, what is it? Either way, the long and short of it is this: I don't believe being tempted by something is a sin. Now, Genesis very clearly, very, very clearly says basically that a man will leave his family to become one flesh with his wife. Okay, so listen, this is extremely important, I think, that you get the order of things straight in your head. It says that he will become one flesh with his wife. It doesn't say he's going to become one flesh with, some girl and then marry her and then make, her his wife. So it's pretty clear that the way God plans it, wants it to work, expects it to work. His design is that you marry and then engage in all those wonderful things that come with marriage. The sex stuff. It's funny how people, even in a marriage, whatever relationship, that it's still, you don't talk about sex. Shh. It's dirty. It's naughty. It's not. It's something that as far as I know, the only way you can propagate the species, and it's a gift from God. So, but I believe it's the design of things. I believe it's God's intent, His plan, His design is that it's supposed to be, excuse me, man, woman, and only inside the marriage relationship. So by that definition, by those, those ideas or ideals, by those things, homosexuality would be considered a sin. I mean, it's just that simple. Now, you might be tempted by those things, but I don't believe just being tempted is sinful, because we're human and we're all tempted. It even says Jesus was tempted. He just never sinned. So being tempted could not be a sin because he never sinned, right? So just having the thought occur, that's not a sinful thing. If you act on it, then yes, that's a sinful thing. But I think the thing that I really want people to think about, Christians to think about, is this whole us versus them mentality. This whole, we don't feel this way, they feel that way. It's an other thing. I think I saw it online. Someone was talking about, being othered, because it's like, I think Christians have been told so long that it's an us versus them thing, that they have this adversarial, everything is we're under attack. And I'm not saying that, that there aren't forces in the world, Satan, of course, working to destroy everything. But I think this whole us versus them thing, it makes it extremely difficult to develop a relationship and to save or lead someone to salvation, to lead them to Christ, if you're immediately going from an us versus them kind of stance. If you're looking at this particular group of individuals and you're just going on and on and on about how they're in the wrong, they're sinners, you're implying that you're not, and everybody is a sinner. I mean, we all face different struggles and different burdens and different sins that some fight against, some just embrace, but that's humanity. So I know a person who's quite racist, and this person, when they're talking about someone of color, they say the word black as if they're vomiting it out of their mouth. And it's repulsive. it's like, black is how the person says the word. And it's like, if you can control your hatred towards some group, then just go to your room and pray about it a little while. Or you can't talk about people that way and then in any way show them the love God has for them. You can't, what is it? You can't lead. You'll attract more flies with honey than vinegar. You can't just constantly be screaming hatred and then turn around and be like, but I love you. Well, God loves you. I don't. You disgust me. That's not how it works. We're here to show God's love to others. There's a song by a group, the group For Him. It's called Visible, I believe, and I think one of the lyrics is something like, to make the invisible God visible. And that's the very core of Christian, the whole basic, the idea, the whole tenet of Christianity is to follow Christ and to show God to the world. And if you're actively vomiting out the words, yay, yeah, that's absolutely in no way love. In no way. Anyway,